We're very grateful and honored to have you with, the, with us today. So, we'll tell you a bit more about the Lost Voices of South Asia. It's a non-profit based in DC. There are some inspiring individuals that are part of Lost Voices of South Asia, and those are fighting for the social injustice. And it's also a platform for the voices that are unheard, and it's also a initiative to unite the diaspora of South Asia as well. So we welcome you.
It's the world is changing very fast, and it's important to continue raising our voices. No matter where we are, the world has truly become global. Especially right after COVID, we all went to our home shelters and we decided to stay in. What happens to the world outside, the only way you know it is through this kind of communication. So thank you for having me.
And also, Dr. Mustanser, if you please mind to tell us more about you, because today is all about you. The event is speaking for change, and today we're going to talk about your inspiring journey so far. So tell us more about you and what are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, I think it's about us. I think it's always about all of us. But I'm happy to share a bit of what I've been doing over the years. One thing that I've learned over the travels that and different education I've had or companies I've joined, everything I've done is that people matter. So wherever you go, you got to learn to respect local cultures, local values. And we often complain, especially coming from South Asia, that the West maybe doesn't listen to us. I think it's also we are not open to learning on their values. How would someone understand your values unless you're willing to understand theirs? So it's a bridge which goes two ways. I think that's very important in this dialogue. But okay, a brief about what. Well, I think we can to make it simple. I would just say this quickly, and you can ask me more questions as we go on. So I have a PhD in design from Politecnico di Milano. Before that, I've done research in Australia at University of Sydney. I also was at MIT. We did a very, very exciting and powerful project called Trash Track. We literally track people's garbage. So we gave people the ability to track whatever they throw away. Waste is a big problem. It still is. And if you look around, there's a lot of talk about circular economy, and our environment is in jeopardy right now. And it's a really scary truth. People say the environmental impact that we are going to see in years to come is going to be devastating. And we have seen this recently. I did my bachelor's in computer sciences in Islamabad. So my journey really has been moving from east to east, and now west again. So I believe the world is round. So you got to just, in pursuit of knowledge, you got to go wherever you got to go. Yeah.
What are you up to nowadays? Where are you? Are you in Oslo right now?
Yes, I'm in Oslo. So, and if the light changes on this side, it's really because even though it's 4 p.m. right now, but it's very cloudy. So sometimes there's sun and sometimes they go down. So it just keeps on changing. But well, Raj, I think you know this better than many people. About 6-7 years ago, I lived in Oslo. And then I moved back to South Asia because in our chat earlier with Rina, we were talking about what you really want to do, how do you see teaching. So I moved back because I felt I have to make some kind of impact. What is the point of doing anything if you are not good for the society at large? Especially if you have the capacity to do something, you have to do it. So I moved back to South Asia during my stay. I'm from Pakistan, so that's where I spend most of my time. But during my stay there, I founded a startup called Fori. We used to say in Urdu, it's Fori Mazduri. When I went back, it's a difficult decision. I lived in Oslo. I had a great job, and I saw troubles in Pakistan. Right? I said, what can you do to make life better? It's really overwhelming if you think about this. But I thought I I was lucky enough to have a lot of young people in my team, and we said, what is one thing to not to be overwhelmed? So what is that one thing we can do to make life better? So our answer back then was education, and the other one was economic empowerment. Now these are very interconnected. I said, well, let's just start with economic empowerment. So I kept doing that startup. For that, I was in DC as well. We were part of an accelerator program. So what that startup does is it empowers people. So half the world today is still offline. Half the world. So how do you give them equal chances, especially in COVID times? How do you give the people who are not even online the same opportunities you and I can get? So what 40 does is it brings those people online to help them get a better job. Now that's one startup, and please feel free to ask questions. And the second major startup, what I'm part of right now, I've tried many in the middle, by the way, and my first company was called The Jedi. Yeah, there's a lot of failures behind this. And especially in South Asia, we are so scared of failures. We never talk about them. And as we grow up, our parents, not our parents, our society, you lie about what grades you got. You don't want to tell you fail, you flunked. Failure is the secret ingredient to success. So, many failures make you the person you and I are. But so I have a lot of failures back there as well. But the second major startup that I am really, really excited to have joined in Oslo, it's called Hike. So we are really focused on circular economies. What we do, we are business to business car sharing startup. So our goal is to reduce the number of cars in a city through car sharing and ride sharing. So you can say there are Ubers and Lyft out there. So what is it that we do which is unique? They add more cars sometimes, or these cars are rented. People drive to cities. You drive to work today. Many people do, and then that car stays idle for the rest of the day. In fact, there's research that says about 90% of the time a car is standing idle. 90% of the time. So it's a wasted resource. So we are trying to make it smarter into an asset, and we are also trying to make parking smarter and linking the behavior of people who go to work, their cars and their parking spots with one another. So we can reduce the wastage time here. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the challenges that you've faced as an entrepreneur, and how have you worked to overcome them?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges we face as an entrepreneur is this life itself. You go through such a grind, Rina, here. It's really not for the soft-hearted, as I would say right now, because it really takes a toll on you. There's a lot of stress. There's always uncertainty. You have seen how people have reacted to COVID because of the uncertainty. That's the life of an average entrepreneur. It's not fancy. We think it's going to be very cool. We'll be the CEOs. No, it's a tough journey. It's a very tough journey. So but it's also very exciting. Like when we were chatting earlier, you said with the whole bureaucracy around us, the political systems, and the way our society works, nothing really is there to really support what you want to do tomorrow. I think the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you have that power within your hand to start making that change. So I think that's the most exciting part for me, because I don't have to wait for approvals. I don't have to sit down and say, well, the governments aren't doing that and our political relations are strained. I can say, well, I can start making a difference in this little sector. And the more, the further you go, the more the impact. But yeah, you got to find enough resources. You have to have a plan on how this is going to work. You have to be willing to collaborate, share. you need to bring in co-founders. This is another thing which people are very scared to do. You got to learn. So you need to learn about everything, right? You need to know about sales. You need to know about marketing. You need to know about technology, because integration of all of these is what makes your idea great. You would meet people who would tell you idea is worth nothing. I don't quite agree to that, but they say execution is everything. But without an idea, you can't execute either. Uh, yeah, and for me, at least, I like to be innovative one way or the other.
Right. Well, Doctor, I know you from Islamabad from 2013. You are one of the inspirational people in my life as well. And you have come a long way. I was part of the For You Mazdoori in the start. I was one of your very first volunteer
Yeah.
back in 2013. So how do you see, because you have moved out from Pakistan, I'm not sure for how long, but how do you see the startup ecosystem in South Asia, particularly in Pakistan, and especially with regards to COVID and all? How do you see it in coming times?
Okay. I think firstly, Raj, I have also seen your transformation. I think your journey is also very, very inspiring. You came from a town far, far away where I have never been, and you made Islamabad your own. So I think your own story is quite amazing. And yeah, you were. I think we were doing this show with what's the first get together, and Sarah was there.
Yes, Sarah was there. We were in F9 Park, remember?
By the way, we say it's the largest park in South Asia. We don't know it's true or not, but we like to say that. And it's really beautiful. And we were maybe 25, 30, or slightly more people. That was the first time we made a circle and we decided we are going to do something. And the rest is history. We have had our wars. I think it's enough. We need to learn as people. We face the same challenges, poverty. There are so many poor people. When I moved from Europe to Asia, one of the things that had to change, I was working on smart cities, state of the art technologies, but you go back and you realize people don't have enough water to drink, not enough clean water, not food, no food on their plate. The basics, then you are lost in the basics. I think South Asia needs to come together. The young people of South Asia have to come together to fix that. So our startup ecosystem, I would say, is still very young. We have a long way to go, but there has been a lot of amazing things happening there. Startups are, we have had a couple of unicorns in South Asia. We talk about Pakistan, it's the same feeling. Kareem, people feel, was really a Pakistani startup. And it has moved a long way. There has been a rise from support of government, where we are setting up a lot of incubation centers, a lot of accelerators. I'm not exactly sure if it's the best way to go, because I think we sometimes miss the local context. The way I like to think about it is, if you look at our villagers, people coming from villages, they're really entrepreneurial. They're strong with it. They mean something. They want to do things, and they grew up in some kind of business one way or the other, right? If you grow crops, you have to sell them. So I think we need to localize. So we help people who already do things in an innovative way. Like right now, if you look at Middle East, for example, that is much more green than Karachi. Uh, so we have plenty of water, but you go to Dubai and you don't even remember that you're in a desert. That's the transformation. So we can do much better. But and especially in Pakistan, it's 60% of our population is young. People like you are the future of the country. And it really doesn't matter if you're in New York. To me, in my mind, this nationalism is not what will take us to the other side of the tunnel. I am not really a big, admirer of nationalism. I think many wars are waged on the very idea. Um, so yeah, we can do much better as South Asia. But our startup ecosystem, I think, is growing really fast, and the way of the balance in the world is also shifting. If you see what's going on, you guys are in America. I think what we saw in the last few months was just unthinkable. Um, I could not imagine riots going on in New York or DC, or what went on was very difficult. And you see, America is one of the world leaders. You believe it or not, it's a fact. And when you see such unrest and people not holding on to better ethical and moral values, I think that leadership is questioned. So it's important to also keep that in mind. Okay, but I'll stick to the startups. But I have seen a lot of very, very, aspiring young entrepreneurs. The incubation centers are producing a lot of young people, educating them, trying to give them the tools to be better, introducing them to ecosystems outside Pakistan. So, and India, for example, I know Asha Jadeja really well. I was one of the fellows with her. People like her also make a lot of difference. They bring young people from Pakistan, from India, to Silicon Valley, give them that exposure. So this exposure, I think, is critical. So I'll try to keep my answers short here on, because I want to learn more about you guys too.
So I know that we come across stories about brain drain every day, and I just was curious to know if you think there's a way to stop that from taking place by maybe giving individuals opportunities within their home countries.
Okay, I kind of, you were slightly muted and then I heard you. So could you go over
Yeah, I'll
again?
repeat my question again. So I feel as though we come across stories regarding brain drain every day, and I was curious to know if you think there's a way to stop that from taking place by giving individuals opportunities at the first place within their home countries.
So we have been talking about brain drain for decades now. I was part of a project in Polytechnico. We were looking at collaborating with universities around the world, and it was an EU-funded project where we would help all Asia really to. And one of the names we came up with was brain train instead of brain drain. But I don't see it that way anymore. The world is very global, and if you look at India, for example, now a lot of companies, you see at least one C-level executive is from India. That is not a negative thing. Yeah, they all left. They went to America, for example, and they made a life for themselves, but they grew. They brought a lot more people. And then, in my view, they reached a stage where then they could connect with people back at home, create new collaborations. If you see what Google is spending in India right now, it's incredible. So you never really lose your roots. And if you know the stories about Pakistan, it's a country on top of charity in the world. So people go away, but I think it's unfortunate though that we live, the whole country really relies on the foreign remittances. It shouldn't be that way. But I think they should rather be investing back home. So right now, if you send money home from abroad, you feel like it's gone. I think that feeling needs to die. They should be looking at investment opportunities, like how there can be a win-win scenario. I'm not a big supporter of charity per se. I think there's something I say quite often. Raj probably knows this. Even when you ask, or even when you give money to a beggar, you want him to do something. You want him to pray for you. So it's not free, really, if you think about it. You always want something in return. So why is it that we want to live on remittances from abroad? But to focus on what you said about brain drain, I think if enough people go out, they continue communicating with back home, it creates more opportunities. You end up setting up an office, you end up taking the insourcing technology or outsourcing it to your home country. I don't think it's something we should worry about. So this is a reality. The glaciers are melting, the sea level water is rising. It doesn't even matter how smart a city is. When the ocean comes, it comes. We have seen in tsunamis, the whole cities are wiped out. The doomsday scenario are okay. Maybe that's a stretch, but it's looking really bad. We we some people believe it's already too late. Even if we stop doing everything that we are doing right now, I forget his name. Uh, he was an astronaut. He gives these keynotes, and I had a little nice chat with him. But he said, even if we stop everything we are doing right now and start moving in the other direction, it's doubtful if we would make it. Again, I don't agree to that 100%, but what I do believe in is we need to take this challenge heads on, because the cities are going to sink underwater, and we need to do something about that. You know, traditionally what happened was people lived in small cities, small communities. A flood came, or whenever the flood came, they would move slightly higher. And in Urdu, we say, you know, hijrat from one place to another. People would move. But now, then we built walls to protect our cities. Now, water doesn't come in that easy, but it will. So, what is, I think, important is to, first of all, understand that this is our own doing. We are the ones, you know, we have wiped out, humanity has wiped out like more than half of other species in the world. And we need those species to survive. So we really have to start thinking. Our populations are growing at unprecedented rate. That's a problem. Well, there are some good things. We have seen reduction of poverty, but there are only so many natural resources there. By 2030, the world will need three planets like Earth, if we don't change our behavior and consumption patterns. So we need so many more resources to just continue with our way of life. So we need to change. You know, but if you look at Europe in particular, you see now there's a lot of clean energy. There's a lot of solar, there's wind, there's hydro energy. If you look, for example, in Norway, you know, every 2 out of 3 cars is an electric car. And then these cars, then the energy that is made and that is available in Norway is also generally green. It's all based on wind, hydro, solar. Just think about Pakistani context. Do we not have enough water running down, you know, our north? Why can't we be on hydro, for example? And talk about solar. I was in this conference in Amsterdam, and they were saying if we could get 3 hours of sun on average daily, we would be like, you know, on top of the world. You know how much sun we get in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh on average? At least 8 hours a day, 365 days a week. We do not need to look for any other resources. We can turn green. There was this article, I wouldn't say the country now, you know, they were putting a solar farm. And they said if there was more space, we would put more panels, and, you know, it would be even bigger. You see, the issue is we are thinking about solutions always top down. The world has moved from mega and top to distributed. So if you look at all the rooftops that exist in our countries, probably across South Asia, there are places for solar panels. You can create buildings that create their own energy. You can create, if this is larger building, there's something called carbon neutral. So you want to be sure as a business, as a corporate, that you're not adding additional emissions to the system, and whatever you do balances it. So that has to gain much more momentum as well. New York Climate Change Week is coming. I hope you guys will be participating there. Are you?
I would love to participate.
Yeah.
But I think it's just such a pressing issue, and we've seen it like firsthand, even just with everything that's developing in California too.
Yeah. But yeah, in the end, so one of the results of our crash track project also was, until and unless we as people change our behaviors, we cannot do anything. But we live at the precipice right now of that change which is possible. When okay, I'll share this with you guys, so you know what I think about this. So when industrialization first happened, that changed us as people. We transformed from a need-based society to a want-based society, where we wanted that new car, a new home, new furniture, that extra shirt because it was on sale. That's what we became. We became a want-based society. But for the first time in the history of mankind, we are at a point where we can reverse that. Because today, how technology works, we have all these phones now. They give us a lot of power in the palm of our hands. Before I say that, what is the future of a phone? We hear a lot of people saying future of work, future of this, future of that. And what is the future of a phone? It's no phone. So, but going back to that, so industrialization changed something. But for the first time in our history, we are at a point where we can use the technology we have and go towards not buying anything at all. Because every asset that is out there now can be shared. We don't have to buy new clothes. There are startups doing that. We don't have to buy new cars. You can use the cars which are already there. You can reuse everything which exists. And today, because of the way IoT works, IoT is Internet of Things, and things are trackable, traceable. So you know where things are. When you know where things are, you can go get them. And then what you can do on top of that is make business models that make it safe for you to share. So if you were willing to share those unused resources with the world and make money on that, I think we would be looking at a very sustainable future. It's maybe far-fetched, but I believe it's possible.
I think it's possible. We just have to hope and keep working for that. So with that, I mean, uh, Dr. Tinaili, what is your message? I mean, what is your takeaway for people who are either looking for help or either looking to help people, especially people of South Asian diaspora living in States or any other part of the world?
Yeah.
So what is your message for them,
Well,
for both?
before the message, I think it's great that you guys are doing that, because our people need to unify. And what is very interesting is, the moment Pakistanis and Indians, for example, to say the least, they leave their home countries, they are best friends. It all works really well. There are a lot of similarities in how we live, how lazy we are, the kind of food we eat often, or maybe it has changed since we became countries. But my message really is, if you are looking for help, do not be afraid to ask someone. It doesn't make you smaller by saying you don't know something, or something is out of your reach, or you really want to do this. Just reach out. But do not reach out in a grand kind of a manner where you try to deceive everyone. Honesty, just be honest. Be truthful. I don't know how it is in India, but I know many people back home in Pakistan. They, you, if they are coming to a meeting, for example, you say, "Hey, where are you on phone?" They say, "Oh, I'm just outside." Actually, they haven't left their homes yet. So it's important to change this. We don't have to lie all the time. So when you reach out to people,
You have done this too. We have done this together.
yeah.
Teaching in 5 minutes.
So, Raj, I am really, really against that. but I think we need to embrace being honest, being truthful, saying, when I ask you, hey, how are you doing? You would say, oh, great. But if you ask a New Yorker, maybe, hey, how are you doing? They would either not tell you or tell you how really they're feeling. They'll say, my day wasn't so good. Have you ever heard a Pakistani or an Indian saying, nahi yaar, din bahut bura guzara hai? It just never happens. Haan, bahut theek hai bhai, bahut theek hai. It's just not possible. We we grow up in putting such a facade on that everything is okay and hunky-dory that we just never say the truth. So my a core part of my message is please be honest, embrace it. It's okay to fail. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to be emotionally affected. Right now there was this sad story about the rape that happened in Pakistan, and we have heard many from India as well, and there have been so many in the news. It's the frustration of people. They, and I don't believe hanging them in the street would change something. You got to change people's hearts and how they think. Our societies need to embrace a much more open culture where we can normalize these frustrations to start with. And, this is not just one frustration. These are so interlinked with the opportunities they have. Who have we become? There's something important. You see, Westernization is not the solution. Maybe even going back to our true values, before India, before Pakistan, there was a much peaceful region there. There was Sufism once. We can also go back to those values to try to relearn what they would have done, what Iqbal would have thought, what all these great poets would have thought. Have you heard of a great poet saying something recently? I'm sure there's poetry, but we don't hear a lot of powerful write-ups anymore. I don't know if they don't happen, or I don't know if they don't come forward, but we can go back to our roots as well to solve a lot of these problems, I think. So that's my one message for people, looking for help. And it's okay to want to be away from where you are. Humans were made in a way that we like change, and change is good. We learn from our environments. I've lived in 6, 7, maybe 8 countries, You learn something from each of that locality where you live. So it's important to just reach out. Don't be scared of that. And to diaspora, I think your charity is great. Thank you for keeping the country afloat. But I think it's time to change that to investments. Please consider investing in those young entrepreneurs who are trying to make something. What's the worst that would happen? They would fail. That's okay. It's not like, the money you send today I don't know what difference does it make. But if you are supporting entrepreneurs, investing in their ideas, supporting them, advising them, holding hands, opening doors for them where you are, I think that would be a much better service. Yeah.
Well, we just wanted to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. And we just want to say that we wish you the best of luck with your new startup, and that we're hoping to see you again soon here in Washington, D.C. for more in-person sessions.
I think that would be amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It was really great talking to you. I think I did most of the talking, but I hope we can do some more sessions where I get to learn a lot more about you guys and your ambitions, your vision. We are living in very tough times. It's important that we embrace each other. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much, Dr. Musstanser.